Hi, I'm Aaron Turner from One Thought for the Spartan Network here. And you may have seen my interview with Dave Crenshaw, the author of The Myth of Multitasking. And having spoken to Dave, I was reflecting on the interview that we had, and there were a few things that I wanted to share in case you've seen the interview, or maybe these reflections will make you want to take a look at the interview. Um, if you look at Dave's book and his work, it's fascinating how he approaches multitasking. And the first reflection I have is that over the years, I've seen so many consultants dealing with issues within organizations like multitasking and addressing it purely on a behavioral level. Oh, this is your current behavior. That's not good. Do this current behavior. And organizations and professionals report that this is a really difficult way to approach it because there's a reason why we behave the way we currently behave. And if you just try to change the behavior without changing what's driving it, it takes a lot of concentration, a lot of willpower, and it's hard to stick with it. But what I loved about Dave's work and talking to Dave is that there's an insight behind it. There's a realization of something that he saw for himself that he hadn't realized before about multitasking. And it's something that is true about multitasking. I've seen it, and it's interesting to me that it's not more obvious, which is he calls it worse than a lie. And what he means by worse than a lie is it is a lie. There's no such thing as multitasking. You're just switching you really fast. And then it's bad for you. It's really unproductive. So what's really interesting to me on reflection is you'll see that approaches where there's a realization of something new and true that hadn't been seen before, there are inevitable shifts and evolutions and change. You can't stop it. And where there isn't, change is hard won and hard to sustain. And you can really see that in Dave's work. And you can really see that the clarity he has around that discovery is crystal clear. And there's a huge amount of energy behind it. And there's impact in his work because of it. The second thing that I reflected on was when people see something that's true that they haven't seen before, it gives them a clarity and they can calm down around things that they were otherwise sped up around. And that's definitely the case in terms of what Dave describes with multitasking. And there's that shift in state of mind from a kind of more harassed state of mind to a clearer state of mind. And that leads to new thoughts, new feelings, and new behaviors. And I was reflecting on how interesting that is, that that's true. And it's true in lots of things. So if I talk to people about pivotal moments in their life, there's usually been a moment of clarity with an insight that leads to a different sense and feeling that puts them on a different path on a go forward basis. And many, many people have had that experience. But the most talking to Dave and from his book is that when he shows people the myth of multitasking and how it's really switch tasking and how that works, oftentimes they come out of a more frantic state of mind and calm down, and they automatically start approaching things differently. At least that's what it reads like to me. And it was just fascinating to recognize again how much that is true, but how little we recognize it. It's like the unsung hero, the unseen piece, that there's a shift in our state of mind. And in a way, how built in that is, but how hard it is to flag, because it's like the part we're least taken by, it's least visible, it's before the shift in thought, it's before the shift in behavior. And it's just fascinating to be interested in that piece when it's the hardest part to stop and take notice of. And I thought that was fascinating too. So if you haven't seen it, take a look at the interview. And if you have, hopefully these reflections are interesting to you. They were my musings after walking away from that conversation with Dave.